Bible Profiles, Satan, Part 4. I did not think I'd do this many videos, but this one is going to actually be very, very important. This one is exclusively on how Satan works today. How the demons, how Satan, how they work today, because it is vastly different than what we see in old days, in the Bible times, stuff like that. Because in the Bible times, we see that all these different demons are being worshipped, all these false gods, they're being worshipped, and that does still happen today. So every false religion is devil worship. So if you have a fake Jesus, if your Jesus is different than the Jesus in the Bible in any single way, then you have a false Jesus, you have a false God that cannot save you. That is a demon in disguise. Deuteronomy 32, Psalm 106, 1 Corinthians 10. But now Satan receives worship in a much different way, where Satan and the demons, they try to pretend that there is no such thing as Satan and the demons. They try to pretend that they're not real anymore. They try to pretend that none of that is real. That is one of their biggest things. It is like atheism is one of the best tools of Satan ever, where they are trying to pretend that God's not real, so you can do whatever you want. When you die, nothing happens. They want to pretend that nothing is there, because if they can deceive you into just thinking that there is nothing else, that is going to work a lot more effectively in many cases than saying, hey, go for this God, or go for this God, or go for this God. Instead, they can say, hey, all of those gods are fake. Then you have all these malicious atheists, like I used to be one of them, but then you have people like Richard Dawkins, or what's the British comedian's name who did the Oscars and made all the Epstein jokes? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I apologize, but he is perfect for this. He's a great example of this. They are false prophets. They are the mouthpieces of Satan. They are literally being used in this way to say, hey, there is no God. Do whatever you want. Live your life. Just do everything that makes you happy. Do whatever makes you feel good. That is Satan's modern tactic. They want you to still be worshiping the exact same demons. Like Satan is still being worshipped via Baal, via Moloch, via Ishtar in today's society. But the way that they do it is they either create a fake god, or they say there is no God, and then they rename themselves based on certain things. So like Moloch never disappeared. Moloch, that demon that they used to sacrifice children to, that demon never went away. Now that demon is called reproductive health care. Now that demon is called Planned Parenthood. That demon is still being worshipped. Same with Ishtar, who was the demon goddess of making little boys be castrated and then raising them as women. That stuff that happens today is the exact same thing. The whole thing with Sodom and Gomorrah, like that kind of situation with the Homer Simpsons, that is still worshiping Ishtar. It is not just this harmless thing because these people have this perversion type of thing. It is a sin, and the reason why it's a sin is because you're worshiping Satan by going against God's structure, God's plan, God's creation. You're going against that, worshiping Satan as a byproduct. And that is one of the trickiest things, is they tell those people, hey, God's not real. If God were real, he would love the sin that you're committing. If God were real, he would love to watch this stuff happen. He would love for you to love whoever you wanted to love. That is where this gets really complicated. Satan's number one tactic today is to pretend that he doesn't exist, to pretend that God doesn't exist, to convince you that nothing is real, to cause this just epic, sensational realism, nihilism in your own brain where you think that nothing matters, nothing exists. It is purely evil, and that is literally how Satan works today. If I wanted you to hate God, if I wanted you to disobey God, the easiest way for me to do that would be to convince you that God's not real. And then you would hate him so much that you pretend that he doesn't exist. And that is atheism as a whole. Atheism is devil worship. It is not just the absence of belief. No, it is the belief that there is no God, which takes more faith than anything else in this world. To believe that there is a God who created everything is just following logic. It is that anything that is created must have a creator. We see that the universe had to have a beginning, which means that it had to have something prior to it. But God did not have something prior to him. He is the uncreated creator. He is the eternal God. That's why God has to be eternal, because either the universe is eternal or God is eternal. But science has proven that the universe is not eternal, that it had a beginning. That would be what the Big Bang is. If the universe had a beginning, that means that it had to have a creator who created it. So God, being the uncreated creator, is the one who created it. It's just the same way that if you see a house, you know that house didn't just appear, that house had a builder. Or the same way that you know this watch had people who designed it, that this shirt had people who designed it, that a book has people who wrote it. You know that that exists because the actual thing exists. You know the creator exists because of creation. That is a very simple reality in this world, and you have to believe that nothing exploded and created everything. That is the alternative to God creating. You believe nothing blew up and created everything. That is Satan. Satan wants you to think that God doesn't exist. It's a very bizarre war tactic, but instead of them saying like, hey, I want you on this side fighting this enemy, all they have to do is say, hey, this enemy isn't there, which means that you just don't need to do anything. You're already fighting my battle. You're already on my side. You don't need to actively hate God. You just need to ignore him. And then we're winning this fight. That's how Satan wants to work. That is the modern strategy of Satan, is to pretend that everything is different. So Baal, this demon that is literally Satan, that was personified as this gigantic bronze bull that would offer you prosperity and would give you wealth and freedom. This gigantic bronze bull, just like the one on Wall Street, just like that one that is outside the world's stock exchange, that's promising wealth and prosperity. Satan is being worshipped still in so many different ways, but now we view Satan and all these demons, all these gods, we just call them by the names of businesses and by different corporations, and that's where we get everything so wildly misconstrued. We don't say, hey, look at that demon that we're worshiping. We say, look, we're voting for the Democrat Party. And it's the same exact thing. You are no longer having to worship a demon because you now think that demons don't exist. Instead, you're worshiping a demon that is hiding in plain sight by just calling itself an organization or a political party. You are worshiping the devil, you are worshiping Satan in a way that you never even thought that you were doing. You are actively worshiping Satan unintentionally. I had people get very upset at me for saying this, and the reason why is because it kind of showed them a reality. I held a mirror up to them, which forced them to look at themselves, and they don't want to, so they got angry at me, and that's okay. If people want to unfollow me for this, please do it. I don't care about that. I'm not doing this for my glory or for my fame or any nonsense like that. I'm just speaking the truth of God because God put this in my life. God made me obsessed with the Bible for a reason, and I think that this is going to be a massive part of that reason, is just helping people learn and understand the Bible a little bit better. But if you are voting Democrat, you are not Christian. And the reason I'm saying that is very specifically because there are points in the Democrat Party that is exclusively pointing to worshiping Satan. Now, this is going to be very offensive to those of you like this, but things like you sacrificing your child to Moloch and then calling it reproductive health care, that is evil. God hates that. So for you to vote in support of that is sin. That is evil. God hates that. And that is just one of many different examples. Go into like the socialism and the communism aspects of it, go into the overtaxation, go into all those different things. Those are all different components of something that is truly evil and disgusting and demonic. Just something I want you to think about, because if you are voting that side and you call yourself a Christian, I need you to actually genuinely look at yourself and evaluate yourself based on the Bible and say, okay, does God support me voting for this? Either you believe that the Bible is truly the Word of God, or you're not a Christian. If you believe that the Bible is the Word of God, then you're going to live your life and you're going to vote according to it. And is there evil on the Republican side? Absolutely, but not at all when compared to the other side. I hope this made sense. Let me know what's next. Follow me on X. God bless.